This is Anarchast.
Hey freedom fighters, welcome to another edition of Anarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet. I'm Jeff Berwick, I'm here in Acapulco, Mexico, and we have coming in from Arizona, Christie Diaz of Mommynomic. How are you, Christie?
I'm good, how are you, Jeff?
Oh, I'm doing just fine. Another terrible day here in one of the most dangerous cities on earth.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, it's not too bad. And so the first question I always ask everybody is, how did you become an anarchist?
Well, I started out, I guess it was a couple years ago, and after having a couple kids, I started to realize, I probably should start paying attention. You hear people talk about politics and use terms that if you're not paying attention, you don't know what it is. So I'm like, I think I don't want to sound like an idiot anymore. I'm going to go look this stuff up. So I was a Republican, pro-war, just basically I offended a lot of people and realized that there's got to be more to it than this. It just seems so divided, So through a friend, I discovered Ron Paul and went through the whole Ron Paul campaign, this last campaign, and started seeing sort of the system for what it is and realizing a lot of the things I believed weren't really the right thing, at least morally or whatnot. So I embraced sort of the whole Ron Paul-ism and started to really, looking into the non-aggression principle, and that is really, I think, what led me into anarchism, because to me, that's obviously the logical end to the means of the non-aggression principle, So I went from saying, we need the state because Republicans are awesome, to saying, well, maybe this two-party system is only here just to distract us, to then saying, well, no, I think the two-party system pretty much, upholds the whole state itself. So, we don't need any of it.
Yeah, I totally agree, of course. I just saw a quote from one of the so-called founding fathers of the U.S., and he was saying that if his beloved republic ever turned into a place where it was just a two-party system, that would be one of his worst nightmares. So that came true.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I used to always laugh about that. I'm from Canada originally, and actually most countries except for the US, if they're democratic, they have more than two parties. In a lot of Europe, there's usually like 10 parties. In Canada, there's at least 5, including Libertarian Party and Green Party, and there's things called the NDP, all kinds of communist stuff. But I always sort of looked at the US like, 2? Like, that's the only choices you have? This or that?
It's the only ones that gain any kind of ground,
And they make sure of that, as you found out through the Ron Paul campaign. They'll get rid of anyone who tries to go outside of this party system. They won't be on the media, which they control, and they'll just won't get any traction. Although the internet might change that.
Yeah, I think it's starting to,
So tell me a little bit about Mommynomic.
Mommynomic is a page that I created sort of to alleviate the posting on my own personal Facebook, even though I still do that too. But it was a place where I could go and just sort of say, look, this is what I think, this is what I'm saying, what does everybody else think? And let's get as many different people from as many different political backgrounds together, and let's just have really good discussions about, where we should really go from here. And just theorize too all day about stuff. So I'll put thoughts of mine out there, or share things, quotes, other things that people say, and a bunch of people will just come on there and we'll have really awesome discussions, and it's always very respectful somehow. I don't know how. Maybe it's the mommy thing. They're afraid they're going to be in timeout. But I mean, yeah, it's awesome. I love it.
That's great. And so you have children of your own, and I know you said to me earlier that you got into this Mommynomic sort of through, you were interested before in education and things like that. What are your thoughts on education and raising your children?
Education, I'm obviously staunchly against public education, state-sponsored education, indoctrination centers, whatever you want to call them. I believe I want to be a homeschool mom. My son is 5, so, you know, we'll be getting into that this next year. But parenting to me it's one of those things, it's sort of like some people don't want to talk about religion because they feel like they're telling other people what to believe, or some people don't want to talk about parenting because they feel like they're telling other people how to parent, or you don't want to talk about politics because you're pushing your views on other people, and obviously I don't believe in that. But parenting to me is an extension of what you believe you should expect from the state, really. I mean, the reason that we don't like the state is the aggression that we get from the state. And I don't believe that you should raise your children sort of authoritarian either. I think that peaceful parenting is something that I have adopted in my life, and it works great for me. And I wish that more people would really explore that, because I think it's, in order to raise your children to not really look for the mommy and daddy state, I think we should raise them to be self-sufficient on their own. And instead of saying, well, I shouldn't do this because I'm afraid of, you know, what this person who's bigger than me is going to do to me, I'm going to make this choice based on, you know, rationality and making a good decision for myself. So I try to teach my kids how to think more than how to react, I guess.
Yeah, that's great. I have a 6 and an 8-year-old, and I got into this peaceful parenting thing and things like unschooling fairly recently. I was always a peaceful parent. I'm just a very peaceful person. But my wife, who's a Mexican culture background, she wouldn't hit them too hard, but she would, you know, a little spank or, and sort of come in and start shouting at them, and you could just see the fear in their eyes. And I started getting her into this, and the changes have been dramatic. I was just looking at my son the other day. He asked me if we could go to Starbucks, where I go sometimes to work, and he likes to bring his laptop, work right beside me. He's not really working, but he feels like he's sort of emulating me a little bit. He's watching movies, but you know, that's our little office we go to every now and then. And
that's so cute.
Yeah, it's really cute. And I was waiting for him the other day, and he was taking a while, and so I went into his room, and he was in the shower, and he was just dancing around, singing. Like, I've never seen a happier person in my life, and he wasn't like that as much a year or two ago. He was a little bit more withdrawn and stuff like that, and it's really amazing to see how you can change your parenting, and it's not a huge change, it's just small things of not being authoritarian, like you said, and just treating them like individuals, which they are. They're just really small individuals.
Yep, they sure are.
Yeah, a lot of fun. So, so you're a recent anarchist. Have you come out of the closet with your family about your views and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, they all know. My family is very supportive. So, I mean, if anytime I do anything like an interview or, you know, somebody writes something or mentions me or mentions my page or something, they're all, you know, every time I share it on Facebook, they're always like, oh, we're so proud of my daughter, and they'll share it. And they've always been very supportive of everything I've done, so they love me no matter what I do.
That's great. And are they both Republicans, basically?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, my mom is more sort of, they're both middle of the road. Like, they don't really, I think they're registered as Republican, but, you know, my dad didn't even vote for a long time until, like, I guess the last 3 or 4 elections. So, yeah, they haven't been too involved, but they're getting more involved in why, you know, government does certain things and why they shouldn't do certain things, and I've seen big changes in them too. So. Oh,
that's great. Glad to hear that they're fairly open-minded. I think anyone who is open-minded who will be open to our views. They're beautiful views. I don't understand why a lot of people are scared of us. All we're saying is don't, you know, use violence against people and don't steal from them. It should not be a really difficult subject.
Right. Yeah, you wouldn't think.
So do you see much hope from what you've seen so far for our type of movement philosophy to grow?
Yeah, I have. I know during the Ron Paul campaign, I changed a lot of people's viewpoints about government and the roles government should have. And, you know, since I've sort of left the political spectrum and sort of done the post-political society stuff, I've seen people who were sort of, I like to sort of talk to libertarians or minarchists and sort of say, well, if you believe that, then why don't you just take it, you know, a little further and just believe this too, or what do you think of this, and sort of address their issues with no state philosophy, you know. And it's pretty great when you're having a conversation with someone and they sort of get all worked up until, you know, you mention a few things and then they go, oh, yeah, that kind of does make sense. I don't know if I like it yet, but it kind of makes sense. And you know when they say that you just sort of planted that seed, you know. You just sort of open their eyes a little bit to something new. Maybe they didn't think of it that way before. So I like doing that.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. We're just planting seeds.
Yep.
And I think that initial reaction that a lot of people have is a fear-based reaction, because they've had this belief process probably most of their entire life. And what you're saying is something different, and it sounds scary to them. And I understand that. We don't know. We've never had in modern times a truly anarchic world. So it is sort of scary. We don't know what will happen. For all we know, we could be wrong, but I doubt it. And it all depends as well about how many people just basically understand these ideas. And like I said, they're very simple ideas, so it shouldn't be too hard, especially with the internet. And I've been really amazed at how fast things are changing. You just see this year on Fox News, they're always talking about libertarian things now. John Stossel just had a big thing on Fox where he interviewed some horrible neocon woman in front of the Students for Liberty. And, you know, you would never have seen that. Glenn Beck calls himself a libertarian now. Like, libertarian is the cool new thing.
It is. It is. It's a fad.
Well, hopefully it's not just a fad. And,
right, yeah.
And,
as long as it stays libertarian and it doesn't turn into just, you know, neocon libertarian, you know?
Yeah, well, that's what they're trying to do, but I think it's going to backfire. I think that this momentum that we're starting to build is too big to stop, and thanks to the internet, people can get access to these ideas. And, you know, the ratings on a lot of these mainstream media, for the first time ever in the U.S., people get more of their information from the internet, news information, than from mainstream media, and that's a huge change.
Yeah. It is a huge change.
So there is hope, and you're an example of one of them. So you went from Republican or neocon to Big L libertarian, and I think the step from Big L libertarian to true anarchist isn't that far.
Yeah.
And
it's not.
Yeah, so we've got people getting pretty close here. So you know, it's going to take time, but it's all moving in the right direction.
Yeah, somebody. One of my friends on my friends list said something the other day. They said, the reason the Libertarian Party isn't gaining any traction is their members keep turning into anarchists. I'm like, that's pretty true, actually. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, there's a saying that the difference between a minarchist and an anarchist is 6 months. And it can be even faster than that if you're open to it. And so yeah, everything's going in the right direction. We just got to keep it up. We have to make sure the internet doesn't get censored, which they're trying to do all the time now, Obama and the U.S. government. But I don't think they're going to even be able to do that. There's too many young people who, what would you do without the internet? I wouldn't even know what to do. I don't know how people live without it.
It works, right. It works so well that I think most people don't really see the need for it, you know. Even people who are mostly for regulation across the board kind of go, really? The internet? You know, it kind of works already. Like, what are we really regulating here, you know? So I don't see it happening, but you never know. Really, you never know.
Yeah, I wrote an article about that a few months ago, basically just saying, you know, the internet works perfectly. It's a perfectly anarchic, it's one of the only true anarchic places on earth. Of course, some countries regulate it more, and the U.S. is trying to do that now, but basically it's totally anarchy. And, you know, you can use that as an example with some people and say, look, the internet is totally anarchic. There's no watchdog watching over anything. Right. And you always hear, they always bring up, I love this one about the internet and why we need to regulate it. They go, because of child pornography. They always bring up that one. I love that one. It's like, I've been on the internet for 20 years and I've believe me, I've looked at a lot of porn sites. I've never seen one image of child pornography. There's like, and you look at Facebook as well. You know, people could just go on there and post porn pictures of themselves, but no one does it because it's fairly, you know, it's social. Your friends would be like, "What are you doing?"
I know. What is going on?
Yeah, keep that private.
I know.
So we police ourselves, and so the more that people realize that, hopefully they'll realize that there is no need to regulate the internet. So there definitely isn't.
Yeah.
So speaking.
But the roads.
Oh God! Don't get me started on the roads. The roads. How are we going to build these roads? But you know, it's too difficult. It's asphalt.
I'm telling you, it's rocket science.
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever figure out how to do roads on our own. We're just going to have to always have government for roads. Always. So speaking of the internet, you have a website and a YouTube channel. Why don't you let people know where they can find you?
Okay. You can go to facebook.com/Mommynomics. That's MOMMYNOMICS. And it's the same with YouTube, my Mommynomics channel. And I go through phases. I sort of slack off on the videos because I have to stay up to the, you know, all night basically to do a video. I have to do it when my kids are sleeping because they're, you know, I'm a stay-at-home mom. So they're like, wait a minute, where's mommy? This isn't, something's not right here. So I have to wait till they're sleeping. So I'm in the process of doing a couple videos right now. So there will be more soon, but bear with me. But I'm always on my Mommynomics page. So. Yeah, Stefan Molyneux, do you know him? Yeah. Yeah, he's a stay-at-home dad. And he has a cutest little, I believe, 5 or 4-year-old daughter. And he actually has her with him all day while he's doing all those videos. I don't know how he does it. Right. Mm-hmm. I know. I don't know. Actually, I do know how he does it because my kids are here right now, and you know, they when they see the camera, they just kind of like make the shh sound and they walk away, and it's pretty cool. I think it's just the fact that I always just go out of my way to do it. I guess when they're sleeping, I'm sure if I started doing them around them, they would just get used to it and it wouldn't be a big deal, but. You know, maybe I kind of like the quiet time. Yeah, I like the quiet time too. And but my little son always comes up, and he's very curious, of course, about everything, and he's curious about the cameras and stuff. And he's always like, "Oh, were you on TV again, Daddy?" Like, it's so cute. Yeah, real cuties. So yeah, that's it. Christie Diaz coming in from Arizona, and this has been another edition of Anarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet. Peace, love, and anarchy.